This is the Daily Tech News Show CES Briefing for Monday, January 6th, 2025. To give you a complete look at the news coming out of CES, I'll be doing these shorter briefings each morning, followed by our regular DTNS discussions in a separate episode later in the day. Of course, I'm Tom Merritt. Let's start with what you need to know with the big story. Our first story actually isn't from CES. It's from the company that makes the most popular example of the buzzword hanging over everything at CES, OpenAI. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman gave an interview to Bloomberg, and the headline out of that is that he's mad. He's still mad at the board members who fired him back in November 2023 and upset that he, quote, had to clean up their mess. But the bulk of the interview, the actual, if you read the thing, is Altman being asked about the last couple of years. He reminisces a lot about the founding of OpenAI and emphasizing that the company has always been in pursuit of artificial generalized intelligence, or AGI. In other words, an artificial intelligence that's good at things on its own without having to be told everything, can come up with its own ideas. Separate from that Bloomberg interview, Altman said on X that the company is currently losing money on its $200 a month ChatGPT Pro plan because people are using it more than he expected. In the Bloomberg interview, Altman admitted that they launched the original $20 subscription with no real business plan. They just picked a number. They tested $20 and $42 a month, I assume as a Hitchhiker's reference, and they found that $42 was too much at the time. Finally, in a personal blog post, Altman wrote, "We are now confident we know how to build AGI as we have traditionally understood it. We believe that in 2025, we may see the first AI agents join the workforce and materially change the output of companies." He also wrote a little later in that same post, "We are beginning to turn our aim beyond that," meaning AGI, "to superintelligence in the true sense of the word." Now, Altman is very clearly on a news-making campaign at the hardest time to make news during CES, but he's achieving it. He clearly is trying to get the message out that OpenAI has always been devoted to making AGI and will do it this year, but interestingly is separating that from what he called superintelligence. A lot of people use AGI loosely to mean superintelligence, so this appears to be his attempt to draw some boundary lines. There are multiple reasons for that. There's some deals with Microsoft that kick in whether they do AGI or not, so he may be trying to move the boundary lines there to help him out. There's another undercurrent here, too. Altman is looking back, talking about getting fired, saying things are better now. He wished he'd done things differently. He said, and I'm going to quote here, "I'd like to believe I'm a better, more thoughtful leader today than I was a year ago." So it seems to me that he's also really trying to deal with what happened then and possibly using it not just to make himself feel better, which he probably needs, he's a human being after all, but to justify the coming changes he wants to make to OpenAI. And that will shift to being an uncapped for-profit company. So I think he's trying to put himself forward as a responsible leader. These posts might be targeted exactly because the world's tech leaders and investors are gathered in Las Vegas for CES and will be talking to each other and talking a lot about these posts and interviews. So I don't know. It seems to be working for him. Good job, Sam Altman. DTNS is made possible by you, the listener. Big thanks to Tim Ashman, Johnny Hernandez, and High Tech Okie. I know this is supposed to be the CES briefing, so let's get back to the briefs. But first, companies keep making unrelated news. You may have followed the story that Disney, Warner, and Fox were teaming up to make a sports streaming service called Venue. That was supposed to happen last year in time for the NFL season. It was postponed when rival sports streaming service Fubo sued those three companies for antitrust. Fubo claimed they were charging it unfair prices for its sports streaming service, to carry ESPN and TNT, and then they were colluding to corner the market on sports streaming by launching Venue. The trial was supposed to start Monday, but it has now been resolved because Disney's buying Fubo, or at least it has agreed to merge Fubo into a joint venture with Hulu Live. Hulu Live is Disney's cable replacement streaming service. Fubo's CEO is going to run Hulu Live, and it will exist separately from the rest of Hulu. Fubo will continue to be offered as a separate service. The deal won't close for 12 to 18 months, though. So Fubo has to make its way, and it's got some debts. The three owners of Venue, Warner, Fox, and Disney, will pay Fubo a $220 million settlement no fault settlement to end the case. And then Disney's going to loan it $145 million to keep it in business until the merger can close. There's also a breakup fee, which there always are in these things. And Disney will also offer all of its sports channels on Fubo in a special package. All right, let's get to some actual CES news. LG's new lineup of TVs are bringing faster refresh rates all the way up to 165 hertz for the top G5 model. That'll give you buttery, smooth gameplay and video. But the attention's all on AI. The Magic Remote has been renamed the AI Remote. It has a mic button so you can talk to the LG large language model and includes Microsoft's Copilot. I'll get back to that in a second. Samsung also announced its Vision AI. It will be in its Samsung TVs, optimizing picture and sound quality and recommending things to watch. So you get upgrades to AI upscaling, auto HDR remastering, and adaptive sound pro. And there's a new feature called Color Booster Pro to make your colors work better. You can also identify things on screen with the click of an AI button on the solar cell remote. Supposedly, it can do things like, I want to know how to make that food they're making on screen, and then it'll send a recipe to Samsung Food. It'll do useful things too, like analyze subtitles for you, isolate voices, adjust reading speed. And Samsung will also have Microsoft Copilot available. And no, neither LG nor Samsung gave details about what including Microsoft Copilot meant, how you would use it, what it would offer, etc. Intel was the first out of the gate in the coming onslaught of chip announcements at CES this year. The Arrow Lake chips for gaming laptops feature the Core Ultra 200H chips for performance thin and light notebooks. Tops out at 16 cores and 8 Intel Arc GPU cores. And then the Core Ultra 200HX chips is for mobile gamers with 24 cores. It only has 4 Intel GPU cores, but it is meant for you to put a discrete GPU, something from AMD or NVIDIA in it. The new chips will arrive this quarter. There's also the 200U series for thin and lights that's added to the existing 200V for thin and lights. None of these chips qualify as Copilot Plus PCs because they went with Arrow Lake instead of the more expensive to make Lunar Lake. Qualcomm did announce a new platform for AI computers on its end. It is called Snapdragon X Platform. It will allow for you to sell an AI PC as low as $600. Consists of an 8-core Orion central processor, a graphics component, and of course the dedicated neural processing unit. It'll run Copilot Plus software, and customers will also be able to get it in desktops. There will be a new desktop, small desktop machines based on Snapdragon X that'll be cheap as well. Quick side jag away from CES here, though it does kind of affect a lot of the people exhibiting at CES. Bloomberg sources say India's Ministry of Electronics and IT has proposed a series of subsidies for domestic electronics manufacturers and reducing tariffs on some production components to make manufacturing in India easier. The idea is to lure in more big tech companies like Apple to make their products in India. If these recommendations are going to be taken up by the cabinet, they would likely show up in the budget that will be announced in February. You may be forgiven for not remembering that TiVo has a smart TV operating system platform. It launched in Europe last year and is now coming to the U.S. as soon as February in TVs from Sharp. TiVo positions itself as a neutral operating system. It says we let the manufacturers do what they want with our operating system. We don't dictate to them. Usually that is a veiled reference to the fact that you have to accept the advertising commitments if you use Roku or Google. All right, on to the CES products. Roborock's Saros Z70 is a vacuum cleaner which includes an articulating robotic arm that can unfold, extend, and twist horizontally and vertically to pick up items in its way. The Verge says it takes about a minute to pick up a sock, so it's not fast. The idea is it's going to do it when you're not watching, right? But it has a camera and an LED light to detect the objects. For now, it can only pick up socks, tissues, small towels, and sandals that weigh under 300 grams, though they say they're going to add more items over time. It first detects the item, then goes back and moves it into an area that it cleaned and cleans the place where the item was, and you can even program it to take all those items to a designated area. Smoke and carbon monoxide alarms from KIDDE, K-I-D-D-E, are coming that work with the Ring doorbell app that will alert you if there's a problem with smoke or carbon monoxide, but you don't need to have the Ring hub or a Ring subscription. The smart smoke alarm is $55. The smoke and carbon monoxide alarm is $75. They're hardwired with a battery backup. They're going to come in April 1st to Home Depot and then more retailers later this year. Halliday is showing off smart glasses that do a unique thing with the display generator. They put it in the frame. And then it will project a display that looks to you like a 3.5-inch screen in the upper right corner of your view. It works with a generative assistant, can do all the things that these smart glasses do. An example they had was showing you facts and figures during a meeting. So it works a little more proactively. It doesn't just respond to your questions. It can also do translation from languages, display notes like a teleprompter. Weighs 35 grams, has 8 hours of battery life, and needs to be connected to a phone to work by Bluetooth. It'll ship by the end of Q1 and cost somewhere between $399 and $499. Also, a new smart ring into the arena. Circular Ring Gen 2 can detect AFib, your atrial fibrillation of your heart, which is something smartwatches do a lot, but it's rare on a smart ring. It'll be available for $380 in either February or March. Samsung Display, not Samsung, is showing off a bigger foldable OLED display. They say it's the world's biggest. It is 18.1 inches when unfolded. Folded up, it's 13.1 inches. That's bigger than the 17.3-inch one they showed off at 2022. I would not expect this from Samsung Electronics, but Samsung Display sells to anyone. So I don't know. Lenovo, you interested? Microsoft Bing got caught altering the results page if you search for Google. Instead of giving you just a link for Google, it gives you something that looks like a Google Doodle and a search box for Bing. And then if you think to scroll, you'll then find the link for Google. Ha ha. Aqara, A-Q-A-R-A, announced 3 new touchscreen panels for smartphones. They wire into a light switch, and so they can, of course, control the light switch, but also manage devices connected to the Aqara app. So it turns, you've got a panel up there if you don't want to use voice or pull out your phone, and the panel and switch can also control Matter devices. OWC announced alternatives to Apple's $159 Thunderbolt 4 cable. If you need a big, long USB 4 cable, you can get 10 feet for $98.99 or 15 feet for $129.99. The new Schlage Sense Pro Smart Deadbolt supports Matter, and it's one of the first smart locks to use ultra wideband. So there's no key slot. You don't have a place to put a key, just a smooth pad. You can tap it with NFC, but it's designed to just know not only when you're near the device, because then it might unlock accidentally, but to know that you are intending to open the door. You're reaching to open the door and then unlock it automatically. You just have to have a UWB, ultra wideband capable phone in your pocket and have it paired. No price or release date on that. Another interesting one is the Flick Duo, a small wall-mounted programmable button that you can use up to 30 motion-based commands. So you pull it off the wall, yes, swipe down or something to play your dinner music. But it can also do location-based things, so it can act like a light switch when it's mounted, and then you pull it off to do the gestures. It is also Matter compliant, and you can pre-order on January 28th for $49, shipping in Q2. Speaking of Matter, the Connectivity Standards Alliance, folks that oversee Matter, announced that, quote, Apple has begun accepting Alliance Interop Lab test results for Matter devices for Works with Apple Home, and Google and Samsung will be doing the same for their respective Works with Google Home and Works with SmartThings certifications later this year. If you didn't follow that, it means that by the end of the year, if your device is certified as Matter, it'll count as certified with all of these companies' programs. So it works with Apple, works with Google, works with SmartThings. That's a big step towards those programs eventually not really needing to be needed. You just look for things that are Matter compliant and buy those. Also, as expected, HDMI version 2.2 was announced at CES. It adds support for 96 gigabit per second bandwidth and certification for cables branded as Ultra 96. That speed means higher uncompressed resolutions and refresh rates. The official spec goes to manufacturers in the first half of 2025, so look for cables and devices support in the latter half. A couple other things here. The current backyard Model P Smart Pizza Oven, it's Bluetooth and Wi-Fi capable, but the big deal is that it can get up to 850 degrees fast and cook a pizza in 2 minutes without having to rotate it, and then cool back down really fast because of the design. They say you can cook 3 Neapolitan-style pizzas in about 10 minutes, and it'll alert you on the app when the oven is cooled down enough for your next pizza, if you need to, have a pizza party. Finally, hormone balancing promises to enable weight loss, lower stress, and more. Eli has a hormometer that measures hormones from your saliva. You stick a cartridge in your mouth for 60 seconds, and then it can identify cortisol and progesterone. It's also going to develop this to also be able to test for testosterone and estradiol. It's not FDA approved, It is, however, in compliance with FDA-approved lab tests, and it is FDA registered, which means they've told the FDA about it. Those are the essentials for today. Let's dive a little deeper into one of the products that I got to try at CES Unveiled. Time Kettle is offering new earbuds that can do near real-time translation while you're talking to someone. The W4 Pro is the name of the new earbuds. The software can automatically detect the languages and translation. W4 Pro earbuds cost $449, but the new software is coming to older models as well. I talked to the folks at Time Kettle and tried them out. There's a delay of a couple of seconds from when you say something to when they hear the translation. Here's some audio of me trying it out from a very loud CES Unveiled press conference floor where I used my very bad Korean to try it out, but it'll give you an idea of the time lag. And then I ask them about some of the processing on their hardware. 어떻게 CES?
My CES is fine. I love Las Vegas. Can't wait to go to the Sphere eventually, one of these days.
Jocelyn is our marketing manager. She will be helping you in providing all the materials.
네.
We also have our
미안합니다. 한국어 잘 못해요.
so you can talk to her.
Okay, I will say this works better for native speakers.
Yeah.
It's really trained on native
Probably
speakers.
proper speakers.
My German is not great, but I can fake it really well, and it gives me a hard time. So don't feel like...
Yeah. No, my Korean isn't good enough to really give you a good support, but that was good.
I will say we've had a lot of Koreans come by.
And everything you said that I heard sounded right to me. So yeah.
Sounded like Korean.
Yeah, that was good.
And then they just go in these clamshells. They charge their USB-C connection. You hand one to whoever you want to talk to. If you don't want to hand one, you can just have them talk through the phone. Through this listen and play.
And I would just use my own headphones that way.
Well, you would use these headphones.
Oh, you need these.
Yeah,
you can't. Okay.
But you can use just.
But you can still use the phone. Right.
Yeah, say they're just talking and you just want to be included in the conversation.
Right.
But if you want to talk back to them, you hit speaking. You speak in English, and it will play back through the cell phone speaker, whatever language.
Got it.
In this case.
So, do you have price and release date on the new ones yet?
These are already out. These are
out. Okay.
This is our
$449.
$449.
Okay.
This is like the next tier down. This is like $250.
Okay.
$250 range. Now, what makes these kind of unique, and you're probably thinking, oh my God, $250 for like some little tiny headphones. These are actually two separate Bluetooth devices. They're Bluetooth low power. So the battery, all the sophisticated, basically noise canceling circuitry is all in there. This is not your typical headbud. This isn't like an Apple Pro, headbud. This is really just meant for translation. Now, if you wanted something where you can listen to music and do your normal headbud things in that typical earbud form factor, this is what you're going to want to get. This is an M3. Essentially, this is like $120. You would hand one to one person. Really meant to look like to share. They charge through the case through USB-C. Same app, same quality of translation. The only difference is you have to touch when you want to talk.
Okay. Gotcha. And so what processing is happening on these that you need them instead of just regular any other kind of earbud?
Well, take that down. I was translating my ear.
Sorry.
No, it's funny. Kind of a weird side note.
Yeah.
This will translate from English. Let's say you speak Irish English into I don't know, New Zealand English.
Oh, okay.
So even when you speak English, it's going to want to translate.
Interesting.
But the sophisticated hardware behind it is real, and I'll give you an example here. So you see these two microphones?
Yeah.
This is creating like a bubble around your head for capturing the text. It is then compressing it in the earbud to the lowest possible stream. When we have multiple, let me just say the biggest point of weakness is how steady of an internet stream can we have to the AI engine.
Yeah, right.
Regular earbuds they're great. They're going to have the highest fidelity, the best quality sound
Right.
to the device, and let that thing do the cleaning up. That is happening actually in the unit.
Yes. Okay.
So there's some computer chips in there that are doing the noise cleaning.
You're trying to refine the audio to work best for this specific purpose.
For the stream to the AI engines and back.
Gotcha.
So it's both ways.
Yeah. Well, Brian, thank you so much. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a great CES.
Yeah, you too.
Hope to see you at our booth.
Sounds good.
All right. Take care.
Cheers.
Thank you for being along for Daily Tech News Show's CES briefing. We'll be doing this all this week with CES stuff. The show is, of course, made possible by our patrons, patreon.com/DTNS. We have our usual live CES version coming later today, which you can also watch on YouTube and Twitch. Find details and more about that at dailytechnewsshow.com. Talk to you tomorrow.